Okay, then just bringing it back to our heading of the discussion, real time. For me, real time, makes sense. You've got to do it, at the time that the person's interacting. But hey, why is that important in real time? And why it seems like it's simple. I mean, if you interact, you know that the person is looking at your website. Why don't you send them a message? What is the complexity of that, and why aren't people doing it at the moment?
I'll start with the last one. Everybody that runs a successful digital campaign is doing it already. So let's make sure we understand that. So that means that any digital company that operates in San Francisco, including your music and your mobile phone or any device of the sort, tracks you in real time. So that's kind of easily answered. Those companies know the importance. The challenge is having tooling out of the box that can do the bulk of the work for you. That's when things get complicated. So that means that anything that you do that has got to do with engagement or sales driven could be real time, because you work off the basis that if you know that somebody is buying a certain service, the moment that they come to you inbound, instead of you doing it outbound, any inbound messaging should have a real-time engine connected to it. Outbound engines don't need real-time, because outbound says that I'm going to send you every 6 o'clock in the morning, spam you with a bunch of messages, where real-time says that you are in contact with a web or an app or some interaction, and on that interaction, the moment you come in, I want to know who you are and what you are most likely to do next, and on what I think you're going to do next, I want to now engage with you. So if you look at that Adelo example, says that I'm searching for a certain picture or a movie, I then get a result back, and the moment that I touch the screen, the real-time benefit is the fact that it knows my state of mind based on what I'm selecting. If it was done deliberately, it means that you would have just had to design a fixed screen or a fixed programming construct as an implementation that tells you that if people click, one, they must get two, and if they click two, they must get three. If it's dynamically designed, it means at that moment that you're in there could be a massive focus on people looking at a certain item and driving its popularity, and you want to exploit that. So all you could do is look at it like a calendar, because if the calendar is configured, we didn't get into the calendar, but if you set up a calendar, you can say that change the behavior of how I present something on a Friday or a Monday or during a sports event or whatever it is. Those are all kind of configured.
So you mentioned the tooling earlier. So if you're a company that has the resources of, say, Spotify, then you can implement real time. But if you're a medium-sized bank in South Africa, you've got 3 Java devs, a couple of API guys. Could you realistically build your own tools to implement real-time scoring?
Well, there is a saying that goes that with force of tequila, you can do almost anything. So in this case, yeah, it's probably possible. But to get all the moving parts together is just too much of a thinking process end to end. And if you think about the clients that we're working with at the moment to get this to the next level, all the moving parts to get it together is a pretty tall order. So I think that it's not impossible for people to build point-based real-time solutions. I think that there are many examples of those. So that's not the thing. The thing is to bring all of the moving parts into a platform view that can give benefit across the board is where I guess the biggest benefit lies. So that means that if you had to take the concept of a middle tier financial institution, well, maybe 3 Java devs is a concept more than a detailed fact. But if they have a technical team and you had to think of the degree of investment needed to get to an outcome that you do not know if it's going to be successful or not, because your team has never done it before. So you have to make a choice that, are you going to go and employ people that know how to do this and find and pay the price for that? And once they've done it once, they probably will not need to do it again. So why would you need those skills on staff? Or you take the people who don't know, but they've read about it and they want to go implement it from the beginning. versus having a tool that can do the 80% of what you need to do or what is needed to make it work as a no-code solution. The 20% can be done by your own team as a low-code option. So they can extend it through the Python APIs or through the plugins that are Java-based for real-time and the like. So you can extend it across both when you need to. So I think that's kind of more the story. So the story doesn't mean that you can't do this yourself. I think in any kinds of software, I mean, anybody can go build themselves another Apple iOS. It doesn't mean that you want to or that you can with the financial resources that you have access to or with your intellectual capability that you have access to. And I think that's the story. So the story is that give the tooling to the data scientist to service the business person who wants to get the benefit and reduce the risk for the technologist to have it deployed. Make sure you cover the dimensions.
Just looking at one of these journeys of a customer and how some companies are managed to sort of, as soon as a customer wakes up and they're on their banking app and they've got third parties that are trying to sell, I don't know, coffees, that they know that through the banking app that Jane, for instance, let's call her Jane, on her way to work, she always buys coffee at Starbucks, let's use a brand name. Would real time be useful to know that if you gave Jane an offer of 25% of her coffee on her way to work or as she was leaving, is that what we're trying to aim for, like interacting in that space?
I can maybe go and Eric, you can jump in. I mean, I think that there's definitely an outbound, inbound design decision that you would have to make. The outbound design decision, because you are not privy to, or if you do have tracking on the client's mobile phone and you know exactly at say where they're driving, you can act based on the position and the location that they're at. So an example is that Spotify did a deal with Google Earth to link the app into the maps, and so they did it with Waze and a few other companies. So that means that if you drive past a certain place, you can then recommend content that is location time based. You can take the time location concept to then decide if you're going to recommend something to somebody. But in most cases, you don't have, outbound intelligence that is accessible to you. So that means that if you wanted to turn it into an inbound capability, you then have to nudge them or drive an intervention that get them to come to you for a particular purpose. So you want to test if the person is going to act on something in the morning or in the midday or in the afternoon or on a public holiday, on their way to sport, on their way to work. What is the time of the day that they're going to buy coffee? And you can run continuous tests so that you can see that this person, we've attempted to offer them something on midday or afternoon and the morning, and they respond mostly in the morning. So you can start creating that intelligence in real time. And eventually, by the time they then purchase, you will then know that they've closed the loop on your outbound message. So I definitely think that you need to think about it in that kind of looping system. You need to bring the two together. I don't know, Eric, maybe your view on that?
Yeah, no, I mean, I agree with that. I think your bank offering you a coffee while you're on your way to work is like it's like a nice conceptual example, but I don't know that it really works in practice, especially given that all of the tightening in like location tracking and stuff. Like, how does your bank actually know that you're driving to work unless you are banking in your car while you're driving, or do they just kind of, yeah. So like, I think that some of those specific examples are tough, and that's, I think, what Jay was talking about, like the inbound thing. It's like, how do you rather react in the best way when someone is interacting with you? Like if they log on to the bank and you see that you have a voucher, so like vouchers that you offer, and you see when they log on that they're in the mall, can you update those? Or because they know that they could get offers if they're in the mall, so there's an incentive for them to interact with you, or those sort of things I think are maybe more realistic. But also I think in today's world with all of the tracking controls and stuff that everyone's putting in place, I think it needs to be like, how do you encourage people to want to interact with you at a specific point? So like they know that they could get an offer. And then when they do interact with you, how do you use your real-time capabilities to make that offer as compelling as possible so that they keep wanting to do it?